We are live. We got Harry W. We got Richie from Jets Media, Matt O'Leary, Iowa Jets fan, we're in the house. We got Dom C in the house. We got Steve, live, CEO of the Jet Lounge. So I knew I'd get rich on my channel. See what's going on. Yeah, there we go.
Jets by a million today.
Yeah.
And we are live. Welcome to Jets Chaos, to the Sunday night NFL Prospect Show with Dom C. Dom C is not in the building yet, so we will have to kill some time. And I'm not 100%, but I'll do my best to do it. So, I mean, I don't want to panic anybody, but I've been battling COVID for now 2 weeks because of my rebound. And every day I think I'm finally better, and then the fever kicks in. But it's very manageable with the Advil. As you can see, that's why I'm here. And then when it wears off, all of a sudden I get that chills. We got, who do we got? Let's say hello. So we have Dakota, who's always here first. We have Harlan in the house. He wants you to hit the like button. Grandizer, no doubt, is going to expect you to hit the like button and follow me on Twitter. Thank you, Grandizer. We appreciate you. Hank G is in the house. Good to see you, Hank G. We got David Gerard in the house. What's going on? Good to see you. We got Twisted here. We got the OG snacker himself, the king of all snackers. Mess. We got Ant Jets 182. I think Rusty is in the house. So what's going on, Rusty? Good to see you. Snowball is in the house. Some guy is in the house. Some guy. I don't know who. Some guy. GVH is here tonight. It's good to see you, buddy. Good to see you here. Hank G. Is everybody else just settling in? John Hepburn, I see that you're here. What's up, brother? It's good to see you. Met John Hepburn in Brooklyn the day before the opener on Coney Island Day. Daniel Meacham is here. Always looking forward, always appreciative, and looking forward to see Daniel consistently stay a supporter of this show. Even though he's not even a Jet fan, he's a Miami Dolphin fan. But I appreciate that you appreciate our perspective on things. And I think this show is really for anybody, for any fan in the NFL, particularly if your team is in the market for a tight end tonight specifically. And we're going to get to the main guest who's going to tell us about the top 5 tight ends. And I think the Miami Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken, may have just lost somebody. And, oh, yeah, Daniel's confirming. And the Miami Dolphins actually need a tight end. Well, the good news for you, Daniel, is that tight end is actually a really strong position in this year's draft. If Miami wants to, there's no question they can get a very, very solid, ready to, I'm not going to say be a star his first year, because you can never predict that about a player. But I think you're going to be able to get a very talented football player in that Miami locker room at the tight end position, if you so choose. Chiefs Live, what's going on? Kansas City might want to start thinking about not replacing, but complimenting Kelsey a little bit. I don't know. Maybe they want a guy. 3rd, 4th round, you could probably get someone. We'll find out. Dom C will let us know. Damn Toomey, I see you in the chat. What's going on, brother? And now let's bring in the man with the plan. The man that's not insane, he's the man with the brain. Dom C. What's going on, brother?
How you feeling, Jeremy?
I'm doing. It's crazy. All I want to do is go back to work tomorrow, and I can't because my school's rule is I have to go 24 hours without a fever, without help, like no Tylenol, no Advil, 24 hours. And I went to like 18 hours, and then I think, oh my God, I'm going to make it. I can tell them I'll be back to work tomorrow. And then in the afternoon, it was just like the chills set in, the shakes, the fever's back. It wasn't a
Man.
high fever, but it's enough that I can't go to work tomorrow. So I had to tell my boss I can't come in tomorrow. And it's just like this day-to-day thing, So I know I'm out for tomorrow, and I'm just got cabin fever. I just want to get the hell out of the house and start, live my life.
Man, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well-
I mean, I'm lucky in that the symptoms aren't heavy to where I'm like, nervous or like, there's never a time where I was extremely sick enough to think I have to like worry. But at the same time, it's just, this is 2 weeks of just,
Chaos.
Yeah, chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Well, what's up, chat? How's everyone doing tonight? I see Dan Toomey in here, man. Dan and I had a real good conversation. He's actually, I just was working on some editing for my podcast, and he was one of my guests. We happened to be talking. He and I happened to talk about this tight end class a little bit. So, for all you guys who aren't watching or listening, follow the Project Prospect podcast. You can find it on YouTube / Green Bean Jets fan.
Love it.
And yeah, so let's talk tight ends, man. So
All
Ant
right.
Jets, what's up, dude? Harlan,
Jesse.
John Hepburn, Grandizer, everyone that said hello to me, I appreciate it.
We even got the famous boxer Joe Louis.
Hey, Joe, my dude. So you guys getting antsy, man. The draft is less than a month away. I can't believe it, right? Can't believe it.
It's crazy. Tony Alexio's here. It's absolutely crazy. It's coming on us. I need that draft book of yours because I want when I do my live reactions, I want to be like holding my Dom C draft book, like out, so I could be looking at the players and saying, according to Dom C, the top defensive tackles left are this so and so and so. I'm going to make a spreadsheet out of it so I can check guys off as they get drafted.
Yeah.
So every time the Jets pick, I'll know who's still left. And then I'll be able to make a decision of like who are the 3 guys that I want us to take,
So it's all said and done for the most part. For me, the problem with why I haven't put it out yet to the masses is just like the technical stuff. That's the stuff that I struggle with. The content, you know me by now, Jeremy. I'm pretty good and pretty solid with doing that. I've watched numerous games on most every prospect that I put into the guide. I just struggle with the actual execution of getting everything sized right and looking the right way and, editing all the documents and stuff like that. That's just not my forte. So that's what's taking me so long, but I leave for my cruise a week from today. So I hope to have it done by then.
I love that he's going on a cruise.
I'm going on a cruise, man.
Hey, Billy, I'm not saying the Jets are taking a tight end. I don't think we will be. I think in all the mock drafts I've done, I've taken tight end once.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to cover every position. I just think it's we're Jets fans, but we're football fans.
Yeah.
And we're trying to cover all the prospects that are out there. And the other day there was a draft where one of the tight ends, the top guys, Mayer, was available at 43, and Tigo talked me into taking him. Tigo was just screaming at me, "You gotta take him! You gotta take him! You can't pass on him at that." Whatever you go, you run with 4 tight ends. He's Ruckert and Mayer will be your future. You got your blocker and you got your pass receiver, and so you never really know what's going to happen in the draft with any organization. But I think it's good for us to just know who the great players are. What do you think?
No. And I agree. And listen, truth be told, that's why we made the executive decision to cut this down to the top 5 prospects in this, because tight end isn't one of those classes that, it's not high on the pecking order for the Jets. And since this is, Jets related content, we want to kind of still focus around, we still want to focus it, to the Jets, but while touching on all these prospects as well. So we're going to talk about the top 5. And, I preface this by agreeing with you wholeheartedly. People got to remember, although I wholly, I stand by what I say, I don't think that the tight end is going to be high on the pecking list of Joe Douglas in this draft class. drafts aren't always done to fill needs right now. The best teams draft pipeline players for that can affect the game 2 to 3 years. It's exactly what I said about Jeremy Ruckert last year. Yeah, he wasn't my favorite prospect of all the tight ends in the class, but when he was picked, I said, I get it. It completely makes sense. You just signed we just signed 2 free agents right before the draft. They were 2 to 3 year guys, and by that time, Jeremy Ruckert is that pipeline, and there's a smooth transition. Because I will say this: tight end is probably has the longest. It takes the longest to kind of get up to snuff and up to par. It's not an easy position to transition into the, from the NFL or from college to the NFL. So you definitely always have to have a plan in place. And speaking just of the Jets right now, obviously, we know that we're going in. We know who our top 2 tight ends are. And I think we're going to see a little bit more Ruckert. I think we saw him play a lot more in that H-back in that wing spot, mainly as a blocker. And again, that's what he does very well, so he will develop into a much more astute all around tight end. It just takes some time. So why not learn behind, the guys that we have right now?
I thought it was a great position we were in last year.
Yeah.
To finally to be one of those kind of teams where we don't have to desperately rush a guy onto the field. We actually get to develop him and let him learn behind 2 veterans. And then at the end of the game, Miami game didn't mean anything. Throw him in there and see what he got. And he didn't disappoint.
Yeah. So before we get into the top 5, Grandizer's already hitting me up. So I'm going to talk about the guys that that we're not going to talk about in depth. I will say this is a wonderful, wonderful tight end class. Very deep. You're going to get a lot of good NFL players. Again, maybe not that are going to come in and contribute right away, but guys that I think 3 or 4 years down the road, you're going to look back and you're going to say, wow, that was a really good class. So some of my honorable mentions for Grandizer. First and foremost, the guy that just missed probably my number 6 tight end is Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. He's bad. He's was hurt last year, dealing with some stuff. Definitely a force in the passing game. I love his overall ceiling as a receiver. Think there has to be a little bit more developed to be all around. So I didn't see that. What was that? My brain just exploded. I got an alert that Dom was on with Tigo. Oh no, me and Tigo recorded something yesterday, so that's probably what you got. So Luke Musgrave has a lot to show that he's through the injuries that hampered him last year, which is really why I left him off the list. He was at the Senior Bowl. He did a great job. He's going to be a very, very good player in the league. And he could be one of the first 3 names taken off the board. The 5 guys that we're going to talk about here today, I just happen to like a little bit more. Another guy I also want to talk about as an honorable mention, maybe a little bit lower down the line, probably a day 3 guy, but a really, really good player. If you guys followed my work from last year, he was my sleeper last year, and then he decided to go back to school. And that's Josh Wiley from Cincinnati. Great build, 6'6", 250 some odd pounds. What is a crisp route runner, showed that he could play flexed out in the slot as that big slot, and then went back to school and really developed himself, really, really honed in all those skills that needed some honing in on. He needed to work on his blocking, and he really did that. He's got soft hands. He's a big target, huge catch radius. I think that Josh Wiley is going to be a really good pro. I liken him very much so to Jeremy Ruckert, and I think that's the kind of path that you're going to see. He's going to be taken in, probably day 3, 4th, 5th round. He's going to be developed. He's not going to step in and see the field right away, but he's going to be a developmental player. He's going to bust his ass on special teams, and then he's going to work himself in to an NFL team and just be really a force to be reckoned with. Listen, do I think he's going to be Travis Kelce? I don't, But I think he's the kind of guy that showed just from going back from his junior year to his senior year in college that he says, okay, this is what everyone's saying I got to work on. Let me go do that. And he did it, and he just upped his game that much more. Like, you want football players on a team like that. So,
yeah.
So, yeah. So what do you say?
I just noticed that Josh Riley is I know PFN's rankings are so bogus in so many areas. They really have him far down, though. I mean, he's like, you get him in the 6th round.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, depending on where you go, he's probably somewhere around, anywhere from tight end 7 to tight end 10 or 11, depending on, how you rate these guys. So in essence, that's really where he is. He's a day 3 pick.
Right.
So
I want to address this question because I actually answer this question as a Jets fan to other Jet fans all the time.
Go ahead.
And it's not that Lamar Jackson is not a great player. It's just that people have to look and understand this perspective. The Baltimore Ravens, the team that drafted him, does not want to pay him $50 million a year for 5 guaranteed years. And you have to ask yourself why. I think I understand why. Before Cleveland seemed to get people used to this idea that a 5-year guaranteed contract at $50 million a year was within the range of that could actually happen. Nobody 2 years ago would have ever talked about a contract like this being realistic. Cleveland did something really stupid, and now some people are accepting this as a real thing. And I think what's happening and what you're seeing, not just with the Jets, but with other football teams, is I think the owners are taking a stand, whether it's legal or not, because they're not allowed to discuss it. That's collusion. But I think even if without it being spoken, I think that every other owner pretty much has drawn a line in the sand and said, no, you can't guarantee $250 million to a player. You can't guarantee 5 years, $50 million on a salary cap. If something happens, if he was to destroy his knee, tear an Achilles ankle, and miss 2 seasons, and then we don't know if he comes back the same player, you have a $50 million hit on your salary cap. And that is devastating for a team. The other arguments are, and I don't like the arguments of that he's not a good player, but realistically, he has not finished the last 2 seasons. And it's not crazy coincidence or just random bad luck. He gets injured because of his style of play. It's a beautiful style. It's amazing when it's healthy. He's great to watch. But when you're running as much as he runs, you're putting yourself in harm's way. You just simply are. And there's a reason he's been hurt and missed the end of the last 2 years. So the thought of saying, not only are we going to say that Baltimore is wrong, Joe Douglas is going to say, my mentor, the guy who taught me how to be a GM, is not willing to pay this guy 5 years, $250. But I am not only going to do that, I'm going to give 2 first-round draft picks on top of that. That would not seem smart to me. So that's my reason of why we're not making a serious run at Lamar Jackson.
I'm going to say this on Lamar Jackson, and then that's it. I happen to be in the camp that would have loved to see us make a play at Lamar Jackson. However, I do agree with what you said, Jeremy, in the sense that I don't want to. I'm not labeling Lamar Jackson as a running quarterback, even though that's his moneymaker right now is what he does, with his legs, how he can affect the football game with his running style, with his legs, so on and so forth. My biggest fear in making a commitment like that of 5 years, 4 years, guaranteed, whatever it is, my fear of that is that the legs are going to go well before the arm does. All right. So has he shown me that he can succeed at the highest level that he has right now? If you take that huge facet of his game away, I haven't seen that. That's the one thing that scares me. Injuries happen, and I'm not gonna say he's injury prone. Injuries happen. I'm not even necessarily worried about $50 million. I mean, I don't know how we would have made it work this year. That's the reality. But $50,000 is going to be the norm for a quarterback. Let's see what Burrow and what's his face in for the Chargers get. They're going to get 50 plus. Now the cap is moving up and so on and so forth. So it's all relative. But my thing is I'm concerned because I just don't know if he is. If you take away his legs and you take away that running ability and what he offers on the ground, I don't know if he's still at that same level that he is with the legs. And those legs are going to go first, right? He's 26 years old. He's probably got three or four more years of peak athleticism before that starts to wilter. And then what do you do after that? Can he win in the pocket consistently? I don't know. I love the player. I would have taken him over Aaron Rodgers. I absolutely would have. I'm one of the few Jet fans out there that says that wholeheartedly and admits it. However, I get it. I get why they didn't move that way. So It is what it is. It's and I do definitely agree with what you said, Jeremy. I think that the owners are taking a stand. They don't want any more guaranteed contracts. Whether they're colluding or not, it's never going to be proven. But I think that's why there's been no offers for Lamar Jackson when anybody could have talked to him. Anybody could have offered on him, but nobody did. I think it's well above our pay grade.
I just think it's just in football, it's just 5 years guaranteed at such a high price. It's such a premium percentage of the salary cap. It's just too much, and the line's got to be drawn. But you'll always have a Cleveland pay the tax, and that's what that was. That was the Cleveland tax to say, in order to get a guy like that and to make that happen for our organization, we have to do something ridiculous. We have to do something that nobody else has ever done.
Well, and listen, and in fairness to Cleveland, Atlanta offered him the same contract, or similar contract. He chose to go, to Cleveland. I don't know what the parameters of the deals were, or what if one differed, had more, was longer, had more guarantees, so on and so forth. But I mean, they weren't the only team that was in on Deshaun Watson. Carolina was in on him, Atlanta was in on him, and Cleveland was in on him. So, but nobody's in on Lamar, and that just makes you wonder, right?
Right.
That makes you wonder.
It's crazy that you're not hearing anything. No one's making offers for Baltimore to match. I mean, it means that the owners just simply are not. They're trying to redirect the narrative. They don't, most of the time one breaks the ice, it crosses that line and they all come following across the line. I think this is where the other teams are looking at each other and saying, no. We can't make this. We can't bring the sport to that. Okay. We can't start having every quarterback, and then it'll start happening with position players where we're signing 5 to 6 year guaranteed premium contracts.
Yeah.
It'll just destroy football because injuries, man. You just can't do it. You're going to have teams playing with 20-25% of their cap taken up by guys who aren't even on the field. I mean, to me, my solution is you got to change the rules of the NFL. You got to change the cap rules and say if a guy gets hurt and goes on to IR, they don't count against the cap then. So if a guy has a serious injury and is going to miss the season, you should be allowed that money. Because the owners have the physical money. They're making millions upon millions and millions and millions of dollars. They have the money. It's the cap. So, I have no doubt in my mind that Johnson, our owner, if we had a 30, when Mosley was out for that season, or if we have a $30 million player, out for the season, I have no doubt he'll use that $30 million for a 1 year rental. If it didn't count against the cap. That's the only way I see it making sense. But otherwise, I just think it's too much risk.
Yeah. But enough about Lamar.
Yeah, we got to get to the tight end. So we had some honorable mentions, but let's get the drum roll going and let's look at your number 5 ranked or rated tight end.
Yeah, and my number 5 is a name that that we know as Jets fans. He was the guy that we talked about a lot last year. He decided to go back to college. I'm a little higher on him than most of you prognosticators and most of the rankings that you'll see out there. And that's Sam Laporta out of Iowa.
No, I remember that name.
Yeah. Sam Laporta is 22 years old, 6'4", 245 pounds. Last year, a very admirable 58 receptions, 650 yards, two TDs. He ran a 4.59 40. He had a 10.3 broad jump. So he shows some athleticism, which is a positive. The good things about him is his route running. He's smooth, man. He's a smooth route runner. He runs a full tree, which is very unique for a tight end. He can force separation, by just like sinking his hips and breaking. He has excellent balance. He's a real tough cover for safeties and linebackers. He fights for extra yards. He's good with the yards after the catch. He's, that part of his game is borderline elite. The elite part of his game, I think, is his hands. He's tagged only for 3 drops all through college. He adjusts to the ball very well. He tracks the deep balls up the seam or on the sideline. He knows how to use his length, and he's got strong hands. He uses those to his advantage as well. So, the negative side of Sam Laporta is he's probably typecasted as a Y or an H-back only. He's not made to be your traditional inline tight end. He's not strong enough to really affect the game as a blocker in the run game. So he won't fit every offense, every scheme out there. And he's kind of more of a high floor, low ceiling kind of player. Like, he's not the most sudden. He's not the twitchiest athlete. He lacks some explosion. And that all that stuff combined kind of lowers his ceiling as a pro. He might find that his limited athletic ceiling is going to make it really tough for him to get by strong man coverage in the NFL. He maintained in college very well, but the pros is a different level. All those guys are the top tier athletes in the world. So I have him. I think he'll go. I have him as a top 125 player. I think that's exactly where he's going to go. He's going to go in that round 4. He's an ideal tight end too with upside. I don't know if he'll ever, be a top 5 tight end in the league, but he has the ceiling to be in the top 10, top 12 for a very long career. And I comped him to, some similar guys by skill set, by body size. Tyler Higbee from the Rams and Harrison Bryant from the Browns. Both guys that I think Porta's game kind of, models after, so on and so forth. So.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, the way you made it sound with the not blocking H-back, I was thinking receiving, probably not the right body type and a different level of athleticism, but I'll confess I was thinking like Gesicki, because I was thinking of a guy who's not a blocker but might be dangerous in the receiving game.
Yeah, we'll talk about Gesicki's comp later on.
Okay.
I got a good one for him. So
I know Miami fans would like to probably replace Gesicki, like with
Miami didn't use Gesicki a lot. I don't know what happened. I mean, he's got a really strong skill set, but it's one dimensional. That's for sure. And that just didn't seem to jive with McDaniel. So, yeah.
All right, let's do. People are trying to predict your top 5, but we're not going to give it away until we get there. Let's do a drum roll and go to number 4.
Number 4. Another name that is not one of the big names, but definitely somebody that has made some noise, especially through the testing and the combine and so on and so forth. And that's Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State. Tucker Kraft, 6'4", 255 pounds, 22 years old. His 22 stats, he only played 6 games. And he had 19 catches for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. He runs a 4.6 40. He had a 10.2 broad jump. The good things about Tucker Kraft, he's an excellent blocker. We talked about how Laporta is not going to affect the game, not going to affect the run game too much. Well, Tucker Kraft is the opposite. He's going to affect the game with both his run blocking and his pass blocking. The guy's got a nonstop motor. He's very good at the point of attack, and he can, he moves vertically. He, to block in the second level very well, moves out, blocks very well out on the perimeter and downfield as well. Very athletic guy. All his combine measurables landed him in the top 20% of all the tight ends. He's, he accelerates well. He gets to his top speed quickly and maintains it, making him like a really tough cover for linebackers. He's strong and nimble for a bigger guy. So he's, again, a yak monster. He makes him effective breaking through all sorts of different tackles, effective with the ball in his hands. And, what I like about Tucker Kraft the most is his flexibility, right? He can play inline. He can play flex out in the slot. He can be as an H-back on the wing. He can even be out on the perimeter in certain stops, certain situations. He's a high IQ player, so he'll adapt very well, and he plays all those roles very well. So I think that adaptability will play to his favor at the next level. So we talked about his injuries. It's something that definitely, some of the flags I'm going to talk about with him is his injuries. He missed 6 games with a knee last year, and he missed 5 games in 2020 with the shoulder injuries. When he was on the field for all 13 games in 2021, he had a ridiculous season, 70 receptions, 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns, something like that. But missing all those games in the past 3 years, it's kind of he needs those reps, and it kind of leaves him with some development to still do at the next level. On top of it, he's not the cleanest route runner. He ran a very limited route tree. He's not precise on his breaks. He rounds his routes way too much. He's a guy where the learning curve is going to be really, really big coming from South Dakota to the NFL. One of those guys that's not going to, I don't think, step in right away and be, a tight end 1 for any team. NFL caliber defenses are going to be very, very difficult for him early on, but unlike Laporta, he's got a really, really high ceiling. So that's why I got him in my top 5. I think he's a round 3 prospect, round 3 draftable prospect. He's in my top 100 overall. And he's likely going to start as a tight end 2 with huge upside. And I comp him to Dallas Goedert. I mean, I know it's another small school college guy, but I mean, just their skill sets of what they can do in the run game and in the pass game just really, really mirror each other. So.
All right. So that's interesting. I didn't expect him to be number 4 on your list, to be honest. I was like, that took me off guard, but I haven't seen a lot of him play. It's not that I saw, it's just that I haven't heard the name a lot. So I was just like surprised to hear.
Yeah. Well, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it on draft day. I mean, I think you're going to hear his name come off the board relatively quickly in day 2. So. Wow.
That like, I'm definitely gonna look for it. It'll be interesting. I'm trying to think of teams that need tight ends. I like.
Well, there's tons of teams that need tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, there's always teams that need at least, especially young guys to fill the pipeline. Because even if you have a good tight end, it doesn't mean you're not looking for someone. Did the Dallas Cowboys, don't they lose their guy? Don't they need a tight end?
They lost a guy. They drafted. They lost Schultz, but they drafted somebody last year. I forget who. Okay. So they have somebody. Yeah, listen, and in reality, I mean, a lot of teams, outside of the old Cliff Kingsbury Cardinals and so on and so forth, they'll run 2 tight end sets often. So it's not that a tight end 2 doesn't see the field a lot. You know what I mean? There's plenty of reps for tight end 2s on the field. I mean, look at Baltimore, right? Baltimore has, look at us. Look at Baltimore. Baltimore has Mark Andrews, arguably one of the top 3 tight ends in the league, right? And they went and spent, some high capital last year on Isaiah Likely. Yeah.
And he's good, Isaiah Likely. I was surprised. I was like, wow. Yeah. They already got Andrews, and now they got Isaiah Likely. Like, wow, that's like no joke. They're serious about that position. For that, it fits their offense, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. They run so much 12 personnel. So,
all right. That brings us to number 3.
Number 3, Darnell Washington out of Georgia.
I see that name a lot. That's a second round guy.
the big boy, yeah, maybe first. He's 6'7", 269 pounds, only 21 years old. He ran a 4.64 40 and had a 10-foot 2-inch broad jump at almost 270 pounds. 2022, 28 receptions, 454 yards, and 2 TDs. You know,
Jeez.
so what is, you know, he's a monster. You know, we talk about like the green flags or the good flags for him, his size. He's got a very, very rare build for the tight end position. He's a monster. 6'7", almost 275 pounds.
Oh my God, he can move.
34.5-inch arms, 11.5-inch hands. So he has a ridiculously elite catch radius. You know, anywhere it's thrown, it's in his wheelhouse. He's a total mismatch in contested catch situations and probably steps into the league as a top 3 red zone threat the minute he signs a contract. And that's not even the best part of Darnell Washington. It's what he can do as a blocker. He's a converted offensive tackle. And he's as good of a blocker literally as some of the linemen coming out in this class. I mean that wholeheartedly.
Jeez.
He offers the ability for an offense to have 6 offensive linemen on there, you know, and just food for thought. He had 72 reps last year in 2022, where he stayed in he didn't run a route. He stayed in as a blocker on the end against edges, linebackers, whatever, so on and so forth. He did not allow one pressure.
Jeez.
Yeah, he drives defensive linemen off their feet. I mean, I'm sure everyone saw the reps at the combine when he made that sled. You know, he just jacked the sled right up and just drove it 20 yards like it was nothing. On top of that, he's really athletic for his size. Powerful runner in and out of his breaks. He's pretty agile. He's got nimble feet for a man his size. You know, he changes direction well. You know, he's fluid in his movement. He's not like he's not, you know, super, super stiff. You know, some of the flags against him is, you know, like his overall football game awareness. Like, you know, he's very, very raw. He's still a work in progress. So he's still a bit clunky. He doesn't settle easily. Like, he doesn't find the soft spots in the zone easily. And his route running is definitely a work in progress. But the biggest thing why I don't have Darnell Washington or why I don't have him higher than 3 is really what he did, his offensive usage. Now, you know, Georgia runs a pro style offense. You know, they got tons of weapons. You know, we know that. But he was really failed to be utilized in college. He was always the 3rd or 4th option. He wasn't the best tight end on his team. You know, Brock Bowers was the best tight end on the team last year. He's staying. So he was utilized more so in the run game than in the pass game. So I question if he develops to be anything more than that 6 offensive lineman in the next league, or, you know, a short yardage red zone target, you know, which if that's what he is, that's what he is. And that's fine. But I just think that the next 2 guys that we're going to talk about offer a much higher ceiling in regards to being an all-around tight end. So I think Washington's going to go in late 1st, early 2nd, probably to a run first style offense. And I comped him, you know, in just I mean, he's a hard comp based on like his sheer uniqueness and size. So Mercedes Lewis was an easy one. And I also put Isaiah Likely out there as a comp for his style of game.
Wow. He actually sounds like if we didn't already have the tight ends that we had, would be a fit for our offense, in the sense that when we played 2 tight ends, one of them was always primarily a blocker. I think that's what Ruckert's role is going to be, like very heavy, right? When the more he plays, I think we're going to see Jeremy Ruckert as a blocking tight end. So the guy sounds like a beast for those guys.
Yeah, well, listen. I love Ruckert. I'm not trying to diss a Jet at all, but like
not this guy.
Darnell Washington and Ruckert are on 2 different wavelengths when it comes to blocking.
Right. Because this guy could literally, as you're telling me, you could line him up against an edge and he plays like a tackle.
Yeah. But you know, but that's the thing, is that he can still move at 6'7", 270 pounds. You know, he's very, very, like I said, he's light on his feet. He's nimble. He's got great hands, you know, so he can affect the pass game. I just don't know if the next level he'll be asked to do it. He wasn't asked to do it in college. You know what I mean?
Mm.
They had two phenomenal tight ends there. Brock Bowers was the receiving guy, and he was the blocking guy. So I can't imagine that I expect anything different. But as a blocker, he's as elite as they come at the position as I've seen in, many years. I mean, as a Jets fan, we remember Kyle Brady, and Kyle Brady was such a good blocker, and he can't even do what this guy does. This guy drives 300-pound defensive linemen back off their feet. It
just makes me think that we could have used this guy when all of our tackles were going down.
Right.
Everybody was
Listen, there's people that think that he may transition back to the tackle at the next level. You put a couple more pounds on him and kind of give him the reps in practice and so on and so forth, and he could be a tackle,
Yeah, but I mean, because I remember people were saying I forget who we were playing, but someone said we were screaming. Me and Greeny were screaming at the TV. We couldn't block or whatever. We had no offensive line. And we were like, put a tight end on the right side next to, I think, what was the guy who replaced Mitchell? Olujuwuni, the guy with
Obuye.
Yeah, Obuye. We literally said, just stick a freaking tight end there and go with a 6-man offensive line at this point. And it sounds like that's the guy we needed. We could have just put it out there.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have had to go with the 6. We could have just said, hey, you're going to play left. You're going to play right tackle right now.
Yeah. And Grandizer, he remembers, man. Grandizer's got he's got a good memory. I talked about all those guys as being guys that I thought were I was a little bit lower on than the majority. And Darnell Washington fits that bill. Now, listen, again, he could be the first tight end taken off the board. I wouldn't be surprised. Musgrave, who was my tight end 6, he could be the first tight end off the board. It wouldn't come to us that much of a surprise. But Washington in particular, he's a guy. He's a home run swing. There's going to be a team that kind of rolls the dice and goes, is not trying to play safe and go and be a single sitter, and just hope that they can turn him into something like we've never seen in the NFL before. So
that brings us to number 2. This is getting exciting because I know your top 2 are first round picks.
Yes. My number 2 is Dalton Kincaid from Utah.
Okay. Now I know Kincaid.
That name. Yeah, you should know that name. If you don't, you need to watch more college football because he was probably the best tight end in college football last year overall. 6'4", 246 pounds, 23 years old. He had 70 receptions for 890 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. He ran a 4.69 40. And his good, the good traits is what he does as a receiver. First and foremost, he's a very good route runner. Probably definitely the best in this tight end class. He's a true vertical threat up the seam or with the ball in his hands after the catch. There's no wasted movements in his routes. He sinks his hips and breaks clean. He has ridiculously good hand-eye coordination. Like I said, they played him, and we'll talk about that. We talk about it. He's an alignment weapon. Like he can literally line up anywhere. Flex out as a Y, out on the boundary as an X receiver, on the wing, or even in line even in line. He's dangerous in all those facets. And again, Pac-12, they bracketed him anytime he was on the field. I don't know if the NFL defenses are going to double him or play him high-low all the time, but they're definitely going to. You have to be aware of where a guy like Dalton Kincaid is lined up. Top of that, he's like super, super, super explosive. He's a smooth, long strider, deceptively fast. I know the straight line time at 4.69 isn't anything to write home about, but he explodes off the line, and that's how he creates separation. He shows the same explosiveness when blocking in space. He gets into the defender's chests easily and does a good job mirroring DBs downfield. Like he's a very willing blocker, right? And he does good job in space, but he's light. He's got a small build. I don't know if he's got the build that can take on a lot more size. So, he's going to have to figure out a way to add some muscle and some functional strength without losing any of his athleticism. So he may not be long for an inline tight end if he doesn't add some size or strength. His point of attack blocking leaves a lot to be desired. And for as good of a receiver he is, he's not the best red zone threat. So, and I think it's just because due to his lack of size, he kind of doesn't navigate through the mud very well. So he's not going to shine in the red zone at the next level like a guy like Washington will. He struggles with contested catches. He's much more of a guy that, you play the mismatches with more so than just throw it up and let him go get it. And he's another guy with with an injury. He had a back injury at the end of 23. So that left him unable to participate in the Senior Bowl or any of the drills at the combine. And he won't be a full go until the mini camp. So I definitely have him as a first round guy. I have him. I love the fit to him. I love the fit of Dalton Kincaid to Cincinnati. I think it perfectly aligns with what they want and what they have. But he'll definitely hear his name in the first round. I comp him to guys like Mike Gesicki, to Evan Engram, Greg Dulcich, guys who live as those big slots and really don't offer a lot in line as, affecting the run game as blockers.
I want to thank Jug Monkey for the super chat.
Thanks, brother.
I'm glad that you're liking the breakdowns.
Yeah, man. We do these. We've been doing these every Sunday, and we're going position by position. Usually it's a 10-man position, but I'm being honest. I was honest with Jeremy, and I'll be honest with the chat. I don't want to give projections on guys that I don't really have a full scouting report done on, and I just didn't dive into a lot of the tight end tape. That's as honest as I can be.
Every year you're gonna put less time in the positions that that the Jets don't need because the focus is the Jets for us. Yeah. And you have limited time. There's a certain amount of time.
Well,
cost.
The draft guide really took a lot more time than I expected or wanted. So, there's that. So normally I would have been, 15, 20, 30 tight ends deep, but if I got through 2 to 3 games on 10 tight ends, I'd say that a lot. So I didn't really want to just spit rhetoric out here just to hear myself talk, because that's not good content for anybody, for you, Jeremy, for these guys in the chat, so on and so forth.
No, we appreciate it. I'd rather have 5 with a couple of honorable mentions that you've done the research on that we could get really deep into.
Yeah.
And because nobody's coming here to hear you read the paragraph off of PFN or some nonsense kind of blurb or something. Yeah. I think what we all appreciate is the time that you put in, and that when you're talking about these players, this is from watching lots of film and really getting a feel for who these guys are.
Yeah, man. So number 1, drum roll.
But before we announce number 1, I want to ask you one thing.
Shoot.
Because maybe it's this guy you're about to announce, so I think most people know who it is.
Yeah.
Are any of these guys potential? Because I thought this was a deep, it's deep with tight end. But is there any one guy? If there was one guy who could end up being an impact tight end, like, Gronk is the best to ever play, but like Kelsey or Kittle, like a real impact tight end that really has a dramatic impact for the team and becomes that dangerous weapon. Who is it? So have you named it? Is it this next one coming, or is it one of the guys we've already talked about?
So, listen, I'm going to preface by saying this. Remember, as good as Travis Kelce is, as good as Gronk was, as good as Mark Andrews was, none of them stepped onto the field and became the best in the class right away. Andrews was the 3rd round pick. Kittle was a mid 4th or 5th round pick. Gronkowski was a 2nd round pick. Kelsey was a 3rd round pick. Like these guys, Kelsey took a little bit of time to develop. He developed into the special player he is. And I think that the next guy I'm going to talk about is probably the cream of the crop. Although I do have to say, listen, somebody's going to take a shot. Somebody's going to take a shot with Darnell Washington, and it would be scary if he, develops it does more than just what he does in line, because he could be the most dominant player on the field. All said and done. Kincaid might be the best receiving tight end of this class, but I think the best overall tight end in this class is the next guy we're going to talk about. Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer from Notre Dame, 6'4.5", 265 pounds. He ran a 4.7 flat 40 with a broad jump just under 10 feet at 9 feet 10 inches. So he's got great size. He's very tall. He's another guy who's, power oriented and really drives, pushes for every extra yard possible. Very, very strong body, very strong lower body, which just helps him, effectuate something in the run game in line. Very, very strong hands. Does a really, really good job catching the ball. Like, he's a hands catcher, which is something that you really want. Like I said, I think that he has the best overall tools in this class. Now, I will preface, he doesn't have the highest ceiling of some of these guys like Darnell Washington or Dalton Kincaid. They might have higher ceilings. Musgrave has a super high ceiling if he can put it all together. But what Michael Mayer offers you is a really, really high floor. He's the furthest thing from a bust potential at the position. Average speed, if you got to have any flags against him, average speed, he's not the fastest. He's not gonna burn you down the seam all that much. For a big guy and a strong guy, he kind of had a so-so year as a blocker this season. He did offer 67 receptions for over 800 yards and 9 TDs. So, like I said, he's got that perfect blend that you want. That if you were putting in a lab of size, strength, and blocking and receiving traits, prototypical size, I think that he's going to come into the league and slowly ascend to that top level. In a couple years, he's going to be a top 3 or top 4 tight end. Listen, call it what it is. Maybe it's weak content, but I couldn't think of a better comp for him than Gronk. I don't think he's the blocker that Gronk is yet, but he has the capabilities. He has the capabilities there. So, yeah, like I said, he's so smart. He's such a heady player. He knows how to win. He knows how to win against defensive players, whoever's covering him. He sets them up good. Not similar to Darnell Washington. He does a great job settling and finding the open spots in the zones. He's one of those guys that's going to be a quarterback's best friend. Real easy. Good. TJ Hawkinson, that's another good comp to me.
Yeah. That's always the exciting guy, right? I think the dream for me, if my team is getting a tight end, the dream tight end for me is Gronk. How could it not be? He's a touchdown machine. The guy, it's the touchdowns, the big plays, the fact that he could block, the fact that you could do anything with him. Yeah. As much as we can't stand the Patriots, as much as it plagued us and everything, we can't deny the talent of Gronkowski. He was one of the great all-time tight ends to ever play.
Yeah. And like Gronk and Hernandez, they came into a team that they were the focal points, and both of them shined in different ways. Gronk was brought in, when they drafted them both in the same draft. Gronk was brought in to be the blocking tight end. He was going to be the inline guy, and Hernandez was going to be a flex guy. And then, we all know how dominant of a receiver that Gronk came, but I don't think that came naturally. That came with some time, and I think, even though he was a Patriot, you got to pay the respect. I think he's easily top 5 tight end. I mean, he's a top 5 tight end that I've ever seen play. You know, and I'd be hard pressed not to put him on my top 5 overall. You know, and am I saying that Michael Mayer is going to do that? I'm not necessarily.
Yeah,
But
no.
when you look at the body of work of everything from their makeup to their skill sets, like there's a sheer parallel. Now Hawkinson's another good comp for him. I think Hawkinson's a little faster. Hawkinson came into the league offering a little bit more. In as a true receiver than Michael Mayer does. I mean, Michael Mayer is good, his strong hands, he settles, so on and so forth. But in regards to running routes and so on and so forth, Hawkinson was a little bit more advanced than Michael Mayer is. I don't understand all the Mayer hate. That seems to be the hip thing to do, is to just drop him into the second and the third round in mock drafts, and I just don't get it. But listen, you want to throw a dart at the upside of some of these guys, like the receiving prowess of Kincaid, the overall sheer size of Darnell Washington. I get it, but like I don't see Michael Mayer getting out of the first round. 4.7 time doesn't help him. I think that brought him probably from that middle first round probably towards the bottom, but I don't see it. I don't see how he gets out of the first round.
No.
I think Cincinnati's in play for him. I think Jacksonville's in play for him. Surprisingly, sneakily, I think Buffalo's in play for him. I know Buffalo just, they just shored up. Oh my God, what's his name? What's the tight end that they just signed long term? Somebody in the chat help me. I'm having a brain fart.
They didn't get Schultz, right, from Dallas. They didn't.
No. They anyway. I think that he could kind of sneak in and be a play over there as well. There's tons of teams that need tight ends. Green Bay needs a tight end, right? I don't know if they'll go if he'll go as high as 15, or 13 if they have our picks. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dawson Knox. Thank you, Dan. So those are all teams that I think could look for and target. I had Michael Mayer for months, pegged. I thought he'd be a perfect New York Giant, and they just traded for Darren Waller, so that's probably not in the cards. But yeah. So I like the prospect, super high floor, and I think I tend to gravitate towards those guys more so than the high ceiling, low floor kind of players.
Yeah, I love it. So there's our top 5.
A lot of names you guys know.
Sam Laporta is so funny because we were drafting him last year in our mock drafts.
Yeah, and then he went back to school.
Yeah.
And then he went back to school. So.
Yeah. So here we are. I think so. What do you think? You want to do a draft?
Yeah, let's mock it out, man.
Let's do a mock. Okay, guys, we're going to do a mock draft. I think me and Dom are going to take turns with the picks. If you trade your pick, you get to do the pick that you traded for.
Fair enough.
But it might, so if I trade for a 50 and lots of stuff next year, I don't get to go till 50, like that kind of thing.
Fair enough. Your show, I'll let you have the first pick.
Okay, I might trade it.
That's okay. Grandizer, there's tons of love for those guys, especially Payne Durham. I think Payne Durham is really, really good. I think he's going to be a better pro than he was in college. But like I said, I didn't want to sit here and spit stuff that I didn't watch with my own eyes on all those guys. I can tell you honestly, I need to do some more homework on Schoonmaker. I haven't watched the Michigan tight end at all. So, I can only I'm only one person. I work a real job. I got 3 kids, so I can only get through so much.
So I want to say in this draft, I already started it. I always laugh at this. The thought of Green Bay after with this whole thing stare down, nothing happening. Suddenly they're going to want to deal with us over draft picks that have nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that's very likely.
Hey, real quick before we get started, Jeremy, is this predictive? Is this what we think the Jets would do? Is it what we would do if we were picking?
I think we got to do what we would do because I think in my head, I believe that what I would do is what JD would do. And like I learned from you, and I think that JD is going to see the same quality in players that you do. And I think some of it started to happen. I see news that we're talking to some of the guys that you love. And, so I think that in the past, you've proven to be someone who thinks on the terms of the Jets organization because a lot of the players that you loved, it turned out that JD seemed to have an affinity for. So,
Well, I mean, JD, call me if you need help.
So I love this offer, by the way, because Broderick is off the table anyway. So I'm gonna show that in a second, but I'm just curious what the other trade is. I love trading down very lightly, like only 2 spots, because then you could, get even another one. And here's this is a really interesting one. You jump down 3 spots and you right away pick you take that 112 and you turn it into another top 50 pick.
That would give us 3 picks back to back to back in the second.
Oh,
I love it.
Beautiful. So I'm gonna take a look just to see who else slipped. My concern about Bijan Robinson is I really don't want him to slip down to the Bills. I would hate to see that happen.
Yeah, I can't get off of the Bills still addressing the offensive line. I mean, Spencer Brown can't be their answer at right tackle. They still got a gaping hole at right guard. Like guys like DeJuan Jones and Osiris Torrance, even a John Michael Schmidt's moving over and playing guard until Mitch Morse retires. That makes too much sense for me, more so than a running back, especially, again, Bijan Robinson is the top 5 prospect overall in my class. However, the drop off, of the guys that if Buffalo was looking for a running back, they could still get a really good player in the 2nd or 3rd round in this class. This running back class is deep.
Do you notice that they changed the rankings? Look who they got moved up to number 16.
Yeah, I see.
I'm going to take that trade offer from Washington.
Yeah, I would.
I like this. I think
I think Washington is moving right up here for Witherspoon. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think in real life, JD jumps all over this trade. I mean, you're going to give us another pick in the top 50?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I'm curious to know. I'm curious to see what kind of. I was right. They took Witherspoon. They traded up for Witherspoon.
And do you know what's beautiful about this is if you look, we lost nothing. Like that was just free for us because we wouldn't have picked either of these guys. So it didn't hurt us at all.
It hurt us in the 4th round, but we turned that 4th rounder into 2nd. So it's a no-brainer. Win-win. Right.
I mean, you just got to love how that turned out because it's not like, if you loved Peter, Skoronski, then, and he would have went off the board, then you're like, oh, my man, what did you do? Why did you make that trade? But that didn't happen. So right now we'd be hugging high five. I'm going to look at the trade offers that are up there. I think there's a possibility that JD would do this trade and give away, and go back to 25 and take a 1st rounder for next year.
Yeah,
I do. Especially after getting pick 47.
Yeah, I wouldn't do this though.
I wouldn't do this. I don't think there's any interest in this.
Yeah. So here's the catch with the New York Giants trade. And this is my opinion, guys. It really depends on where which way JD is kind of leaning here. Now, my thoughts my thoughts are obviously like everyone else's. I think offensive tackle is a definite need and something that he's definitely addressing. Skoronski is my favorite offensive lineman in this class. Okay. I don't think that JD sees, he's in the tackle realm for JD. I think that his measurements are exactly, and his skill set is exactly what Elijah Vera Tucker is. And JD moved up to 13 to get Elijah Vera Tucker as a guard. I just don't see, he likes his tackles long. He likes his tackles big. I don't know if Skoronski at sub 33-inch arms is going to fit the bill as a tackle on JD's board. That's my hang up. I'm not knocking the player. I love Skoronski. Jeremy knows I've been talking about him since October. However, if we're talking about the Jets, I don't know if JD kind of pegs him as a tackle. I could be wrong.
Here's why I would love Skoronski.
Go ahead.
I don't argue with you at all. He might end up just being a guard, a Pro Bowl guard.
Yeah.
But here's how I see it because I do think, like AVT, I think he could do a reasonable job filling in. Like, he has that versatility. If injuries, he could move over to tackle and be serviceable for us and get us out of a bind.
Correct.
And
I'm not doubting that.
And I know that JD loves that versatility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to take Peter Skoronski, here's what I love about it. We have a bunch of guys at tackle that if they're workouts, we don't need a tackle, right? So it makes this pick perfect, because if Becton's, he looks great. If Becton comes back and he's freaking Becton,
mm-hmm.
and he's great,
mm-hmm.
you got one spot locked up. If Dwayne Brown now, who played, was playing hurt all year, comes back and he could play at a decent level for another year, he's good. And we can squeeze another year out of him. And then you got Max Mitchell, who looked like okay for a rookie who could develop into a real player. So what it makes me think is, now you got Skoronski, you got incredible depth, but also, what if Lincoln Tomlinson still sucks? What if we go a few games in and he's not doing the job? I don't care how much we're paying him. We could just say, screw you, we're sticking Peter in there because we need to win. And we got ourselves a guard who can come in and play at a high level opposite of AVT.
Yeah. Listen, I don't disagree with that last part of that statement, is that you got a guy that can come in and play. You love his positional flexibility. He literally can play all 5 positions on the offensive line. But like I said, if you look at the tackles that JD has his hands on, they have size, they have length, and they have agility. They're mobile. They're athletes. They're athletic, right? And that means I'm even talking about Dwayne Brown, who we brought in as a free agent. Mekhi Becton, Max Mitchell, all those guys got 35-inch arms. Skoronski's at sub 32.5. Now, what's 2.5 inches? To me or you, probably nothing. But the metrics say that there's something at the next level. That's why they set that benchmark at 34 inches.
Yep, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to talk you out of the pick. I'm just saying.
Right. No.
If I'm
show it. Justin Pooh for the Giants, I'll never forget it.
Yeah,
I remember everybody would say small arms, and it turns out he's not a good. He's more suited to be a guard.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that if I'm the GM or if it's JD, because I know that there are other options that we could still get our tackle, I'm not going to turn an opportunity, especially because I don't know what's going to happen with Green Bay. If there's a contingency pick next year, I don't know what's going to happen if Rodgers retires. Maybe I want to have 2 number ones so I have some flexibility to move up and grab our future quarterback. I don't know.
So before you make a decision, I'm not trying to sway it. I'm just wondering, Jeremy, if you're the GM, is there anybody else on the board right now outside of Skoronski that you warrant a stick and pick with? Is there anybody else that interests you?
There are guys who interest me, but it's just the position just for this at this point to turn down a number 1 next year that might really be incredibly meaningful for us. Like I love Brian Branch, that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Brian Barisi would be an amazing guy to just plug in there. Isaiah Foskey, edge. I mean, impact player. I mean, there are guys I would love to grab here.
Yeah,
I like Jordan Addison. There are guys I would love to grab here, but I really think when you're about to trade for a guy who might retire in 1 year, and you're talking about next year, which is actually a great year for quarterbacks,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an opportunity that the Giants could fall and slip back, that it may have been a Cinderella type year, but I still don't trust that team. I don't trust their quarterback. I don't know that the Giants could still be a top 18 pick next year.
Yeah.
I could see the Giants falling in that middle range of 15, 16. And if we have let's hope it's a high pick, but let's say it's 26, 27, whatever it is, and then you also have the 16th, you might be able to do something with that and get in range to get one of those quarterbacks, even if Rodgers doesn't retire. But you want to think about the future.
Yeah, I'm curious. If you do make this trade, I'm curious to see who the Giants are trading up this high to get. Like the last trade, and we've talked about this, in text and offline. I'm always I've been an advocate, and I stand strong on it that this class isn't the strongest. It's not the strongest draft class that we've had over the past few years, and everyone wants to just trade down from 13, but to be able to trade down from 13, you have to have somebody that's willing to come up.
You
right?
have to have a trade partner.
And Washington, in that situation that we just had, made perfect sense. They need an outside cornerback. Devin Witherspoon's a top 10 talent. He slipped. They wanted to get ahead of New England. So for me, like, that trade makes sense. I'm curious to see who the Giants are trading up here for.
Well, let's see who they do. We're going to do it. I'm going to do this trade because like I said,
I get it. I'm not opposed to it either.
Yeah,
I'm just
39-year-old quarterback. We might need the draft capital next year.
And they traded up for Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Wow. Now, do you think that's realistic in any way?
No, no disrespect to Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I don't think it's realistic for a couple reasons. One, I don't think he gets past Houston at 12. I think that's his floor. I just think that's like the sweet spot for him. They need the receiver really bad. On top of it, if the Giants are going to go receiver, to me it probably behooves them to take another slot-oriented guy. Like, if you said, all right, they're trading up for Quentin Johnson, although I might not be that high on Quentin Johnson as I am on Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, that makes sense. The Giants just brought in Paris Campbell for a big free agent contract. He's a slot receiver. They signed Jamison Crowder. He's a slot receiver. They got Wan'Dale Robinson. He's a slot receiver. They brought in another slot receiver too. I can't think off the top of my head. I forget who it is. They also signed Jeff Smith, who's not a slot receiver. But so, they definitely need a receiver. And I don't think, a Jamison Crowder move, kind of deflects them from going towards a receiver at all. I don't know. I don't think Jackson Smith and the Jigba would be the guy that they spend a first-round draft pick next year to go get.
I just want to show that tight end situation.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Makes sense. So I don't think that would happen either, but here we are. We're sitting at 25 now. I just want to look at the board.
Mm-hmm.
I do notice that I think Anton Harrison is there. I'm surprised that Darnell Wright is ranked above him. I don't agree with that. I would rather
I you know what? I love Anton Harrison, but Darnell Wright's my tackle 3 in the class.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Darnell Wright's my tackle 3 in the class. To me, I think I think he's off the board by this point, realistically, in the real NFL draft.
Well, I'll tell you, with DeJuan Jones, Anton Harrison, and Darnell Wright still on the board, I have to look at the trade offers and consider them. Because New Orleans, right off the bat, is saying, drop down 4 spots, I'll still get one of my tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that, and I get a 115. That's not bad. I'm not going to consider this because I'm not dropping down to 99. And I'm not going to drop down to 62 for the Eagles. As tempting as it is to get another first-round pick, we have Aaron Rodgers for a year. We got to do something now.
Yeah.
So this trade is tempting to me.
Go for it, man. We get back that 4th that we lost in the Washington trade. This is like Trader Joe here.
And you know what? It cost us nothing because Nolan Smith, Brian Breesy, Deontay Banks, Bijan Robinson to the Bengals. Wow. We did not get hurt by doing that trade. We still have our choice of offensive tackles. And I'm not going to consider any of these picks. These are the picks that want us to basically go out of the first round, which I'm just not willing to do.
Okay. So the pick is going to be up on the clock, boys and girls. And 3 trades later.
I want to look at one thing. 9.78 RAS score.
He's an athletic freak at 340 pounds, man.
And then Anton Harrison is 8.58. 315.65. 6'6", 335. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So I will say this. Darnell Wright is probably a right tackle. Anton Harrison is probably a left tackle. Could they flip-flop? Sure. Darnell Wright played left tackle in college last year, but I think at the next level at the pros, I think he's going to be a right tackle, which is not a bad thing. They're both great players. They're complete opposite players. You know, where Wright stands out, Harrison has some growing to do, and vice versa. You know,
yeah.
Anton Harrison, I think, is the best pure pass blocker in this class, but he's needs to get a little bit stronger. He needs to, be able to, build that core strength and anchor down a little bit better against those strong bull rushes and so on and so forth.
Well, we're a run first team. I still believe. I still believe we're West Coast offense. I still believe we predicate that we have Breece Hall hopefully back. Okay, I understand they might take him a half a season, whatever. But like for the moving forward, this organization has a special running back.
Grandizer's pushing you. He said your time is up.
I know. I'm gonna grab Darnell Wright. I'm gonna grab the athlete.
I like it.
That's my pick, Darnell Wright. And I just want to remind people before you go what we did. We not only secured our offensive tackle, your OT3, but on top of it, look at the picks we have now: 42, 43, 47, 115.
Yeah,
pretty juicy.
Yeah, and a first next year.
Right, and a first next year. So this would be a dream come true, guys. I think you all agree. It would be a wet dream come true. So do you want to look at the trade offers?
You can breeze through them. I'm probably going to stick and pick, though. I'm not trading with Green Bay no matter what. I don't care what their offer is. I'm not trading with Miami, so. Okay. I don't trade. I never in mocks, and this is stupid of me, but I won't trade in the division. So here,
I know this isn't likely in real life, but I want to say the fact that you could get Kalijah Cansey and John Michael Schmitz right now back to back, my heart is pounding. Okay.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Obviously, I'm leaning center. I don't think that John Michael Schmitz is going to be on the board here. I really don't. Oh God, J. Cole, he's back. I don't think John Michael Schmitz is going to be on the board, so I'm not going to take John Michael Schmitz. I'll let Jeremy do that if he so chooses to at 43. But I think defensive line is an important spot. You have Kalijah Cansey and you have Mazi Smith, and those are two guys that I'm very high on. They are complete opposite players. Okay, they are complete opposite players. Mazi Smith is a nose tackle. Mazi Smith is your run of the mill one tech. Stout against the run, big guy, big body. Can take on double teams, can free up the linebackers to move and roam, and Kalijah Cansey is your slasher, disruptor in the backfield. I don't know if he can line up in 3 downs next to Quinnen Williams all the time. I question that fit. However, the talent is too good to pass up, so I'm going to go ahead and take Kalijah Cansey and really put one hell of a pass rush into play for us. So you're up, Jeremy.
Okay. I'm going to. I agree that John Michael Schmitz is probably not going to be there. But at the same time, I'm not being offered a trade, and I don't see really the point of going, oh, look, they moved Keanu Benton way up to 68. Like, I think it's too early to pick other guys. I mean, although I think in real life, Owen Pappoe would be fine in here. I really do. I'm that high on him. You got me sold on Pappoe.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him.
Papo. Say it right.
Papo. I love him, dude. I love him. I would love it. He's the Quan Alexander, except I think much better player, like Stud's version of Quan Alexander.
Yeah.
But I mean, just based on what's up here, I'm gonna I mean, I know it's not likely that it'll come down this far, but then again, Creed Humphreys did. So, I'm just gonna grab our center.
Yeah. Listen, I think we're at 47 again. Oh my gosh. So I think that Schmitz is going to be a first round pick. I really do. I think he's going to be a first round pick. I thought when you traded down to 25 that was going to be your pick and you're going to leave me the tackle. But you didn't. And I'm going to reject this trade. I'm good with the trades right now. We got a lot of picks. So, can you just scroll all the way up? Is that the top? Is Campbell at the top?
Nope.
DeJuan Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ozzie Smith is still there.
You could just say we're going to have the best stable of tackles in the history of football.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not downplaying it, but I'm not going to take him. I'm going to go ahead and address a position here that probably people don't think is a need. But again, I'm thinking not only drafting for now, but drafting for what we have down the road. And I'm taking Will McDonald.
Yeah, I knew it.
The edge rusher. Play. Yeah, he's another guy I think that's going to sneak into the end of the first round. He is a pass rush specialist right off the bat and a super effective one. And you guys got to remember, we still don't know the length of the tenure of JFM or Carl Lawson, right? We still don't have Bryce Huff signed to a long-term deal. You know, we gave him the tender, and we'll have him probably at least for this year, hopefully more. But, you know, if that doesn't work out, you have your replacement right there and right then, especially on a team that likes to rotate through the defensive linemen as much as Ulbrich and Saleh do. So,
and I want to say that we just turned that trade from before, where we traded down 2 spots, cost us nothing, didn't lose the guys we wanted, and that just got us for free Will McDonald.
Yeah, I would have taken Felix Aduke Uzama if he was on the board, but he went 1 pick before us. So.
Wow, too bad. But Will McDonald is fine, right? He has the potential. He could potentially be a 15-sack guy in his prime, right? For a few years. Could be that kind of guy.
He absolutely can. Yeah, he absolutely can. Listen, you know, people are going to question what he can do against the run or how well he can set the edge, but I don't think that's his game. You know, you're bringing him in here to get at the passer, and that's what he does best. So I forgot we didn't have a 3rd rounder.
Right, but we did get pick 115. Remember in that trade.
Yep.
Now, I'm always torn here between Ronnie Hickman, because I think it's time to address safety, and I don't see anybody above there that's tempting me to change strategy, right? I mean, there is Javere Brown, but I like Ronnie Hickman, and and I know how you feel about Jammie Robinson. I forget if you I know you like Jammie Robinson, but you actually like him better than Ronnie Hickman.
I mean, as a prospect, they're very, very close. They're very similar in my rankings. I think as a fit for the Jets, I think Hickman has better range and better ball skills for, that true LaMarcus Joyner replacement deep middle safety. Not to say that that Jammie couldn't do that also, but Jammie affects the game a lot more at the line of scrimmage more so than Hickman. Hickman can do it too. Hickman can blitz. I mean, Hickman rotated. They use their safeties kind of as hybrids in Ohio State. So he played deep. He played quarters. He played up at the line, so on and so forth. So listen, it really depends on your preference. I don't think if safety is where you're looking and those two are the names, then I don't think you can. I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, gun to my head, I'd probably take Hickman, but it's really, really close. It's really, really close.
Right.
Really close.
That's who I've liked. I've went back and forth though. I've taken Jamie over him.
Yeah.
But for today, I'm gonna go with the Ohio State. I love people from that college. I'm gonna go with Ronnie Hickman. I'm gonna leave linebacker to you and I only say that because there's a guy I think will be on the board, and when we get there, you can tell me if you believe he'll really truly be there in real life at that pick. But I know.
But how do you know I'm going? How do you know I'm going linebacker?
No, I'm just saying. Like, there's a guy I know you love. There's a guy I know you love, and I'm just. Oh, look, Jamie is still there at 143. That's insane.
Wow.
There's a guy I know you love. I wonder if he's still going to be on the board. Let me see. There he is. He's still there. Do you think that's realistic? Is Dorian Williams going to be there at 143?
What are we in the fourth round? I mean, I have him higher. I have him right. I have a day 2 grade on him. I think he's really, really good. I think he's your prototypical chase and tackle weak side linebacker in our defense. He's very, he's a solid stout in coverage. He's got enough chops that he doesn't get lost, in the midst. He's durable enough that he can, stack and shed these big blockers, so on and so forth. Man, Dorian Williams here. Can you do me a favor? I'm curious. Can you hit the running backs? Go to the offense and hit the running backs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not a popular pick, but I think I'm going to take a running back here.
Wow.
I think I'm going to take a running back. Well, how many picks we have left? What do we have left?
We have 143 and 207.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to take a running back because I think running back is a bigger need than people want to talk about. I'm not sold that Breece Hall is 100% coming back for week 1. I'm not sold that he's going to be at 100% this year. And I got to be honest with you that I'm a little bit scared of running it back with Bam Bam and Michael Carter, although I hope that they, continue or improve. I don't think of Ty Johnson as much. So I'm going to take Rashawn Johnson from Texas. I think this is the area he's going to fall off. I think he works very, very well in our offense. Outside zone, one cut and go kind of guy. He was Bijan's backup, but he's more than just a backup. He is a great, great player here. And I think it's a need. I think that, we'd be silly not to say that, oh, we're going to be fine running it back the way we did, or we'd be, it would be kind of naive of us to expect that we have Breece Hall back exactly where it was. I mean, those injuries take time.
Right.
Shaka.
I know. 220. He could be a coverage type guy.
You know what? I can't. I haven't done any work on Shaka Howard, so I can't tell you. Cam Jones, I have, on the other hand. Cam Jones, I like a lot. Cam Jones dealt with a back injury last year, so he missed a lot of time.
Is that why he slipped down?
Yeah, that. I mean, he's probably a third round. He's probably a day 3 guy anyway. But I like his his versatility. He can play Mike. He can play outside. He does everything pretty well. He's a guy and Indiana is another school, one of the schools that just puts out good linebackers. Like they come out of Indiana knowing how to play ball. So if he's past the injury thing, then he's a guy at target. But you don't have to take a linebacker. You happen to be on linebackers.
I was just thinking that in this draft we have to take a linebacker because we didn't sign Quan. I figured we got to get somebody else in the room. Well,
remember, you don't always have to fill every single need in the draft. There's going to be plenty of time for that.
That's true. I'm going to look at the overall rankings.
Mm-hmm.
See if there's any steals. I don't see any steals.
Jake Haener. Oof.
Who?
Jake Haener.
You like him? I think
he's okay. He's okay.
I think you like the kid from Houston.
I very much so. I like the kid from Houston.
I like this. I like Antonio Mafi.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's probably way too low. I mean, he's a third round or fourth round guy. I can't believe he's still here in the seventh.
Yeah, I mean he'd be great.
Sixth.
He'd be great for depth, right?
Absolutely. He's a beast, man. He's a guy that you don't have to worry about, touching or playing for a little while. Just let him kind of groom, and he could be the heir apparent for Laken Tomlinson, a guy like that.
Yeah, I think that's more valuable. We could pick up a linebacker. We got freaking Quincy Williams off the garbage heap. We got Quan Alexander pretty much for free off the garbage heap.
Jamie Sherwood, baby.
Yeah, we got Sherwood's ready can he play a different position? Because the problem with Sherwood is he's stuck behind Mosley, right?
Yeah, well, the problem with Sherwood is not what he does athletically. You see him, you see him on the field. I mean, he's always in, his nose is to the ball all the time. Big hitter, solid tackler, so on and so forth. The problem is he's just learned how to play linebacker. So the big thing about learning how to play linebacker is how to navigate through the mud. We talk about getting through these blockers. Sherwood's 200 pounds, 210 pounds tops. 6 foot, 210 pounds. You got a guy that's 6'6", 335 coming down you. He's got to figure out how to navigate through all that stuff. That's why I don't think Sherwood has seen the field as much.
Okay, because I like Sherwood. When Mosley came out for that series, Sherwood made every tackle.
Mm-hmm.
He was a beast. He was great. We in Green Bay were like, we got to keep this kid in the game. He's great. So what we did for our team, we talk about the trenches, right? Well, look at what we just did for the trenches. We added more talent at tackle. We found our center for the next, hopefully, 10 to 15 years. We add a freaking stud next to Quinnen Williams, right? So the center, the core of the defensive line, the two tackles right up the middle, solidified, right? And then the tackle position solidified because either Becton or Brown and Max Mitchell, I mean, one of those guys, the best of that bunch with Darnell Wright, we are set. And then you got your center, we are set. Then you have another edge. So if we don't sign Carl Lawson, here's another guy we throw in. If we do keep Carl Lawson, like you said, you can never have too many. The whole defense is predicated on edge.
Yeah, well, I don't expect Carl Lawson to be off the team this year, but it is his last year of the contract. You can also get out of JFM next year. Well, I think they restructured him, so it might be a little bit harder. But you got guys that you're going to need to replace, and I know we have, we like Jermaine Johnson, obviously, he's going to be one of them. He's a JFM replacement, but you don't have anybody outside of Huff that can really get at the quarterback and do what, Lawson does or is supposed to do. So,
yeah, the draft is also for the future. So here's a guy, I mean, Will McDonald probably won't even, he'll get 15, 20% of the snaps too, probably in the rotation.
Yeah.
And then you get Ronnie Hickman. So we replaced LaMarcus Joyner.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're good at safety because we got Clark, we got him. We still have Whitehead on the roster if we keep him. And we have Adams, who they love. So we got a handful of guys at safety now. And then you get some extra insurance. Obviously we get a future guard to develop. And then you get some extra insurance at running back.
Yeah.
Right. And you like this kid, huh?
Rashawn Johnson's good.
Yeah.
He's very good. And you know what I like about him most is his mental makeup. Like in this day and age of the the portal, that the NCAA portal, where these guys, if they lose their job, they leave school and they go sign somewhere else. That's not him. The Bijan Robinson came in. Rashawn Johnson was the guy. He was the big running back recruit until they brought in Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson came in and took all his glory. Rashawn Johnson could have easily got up and left, but he said no. He said, I made a commitment to Texas, and I'm gonna live it out. And he's good, and prototypical outside zone guy, one cut and goes, got speeds, got enough in the receiving chops. He's gonna be a good pro. He's the prototypical guy who's going to be a much better pro than he was in college.
Look at the holes we fill with this draft. I mean, there's your tackle, guys. There's your defensive tackle to sit next to Quinnen, guys. There's your center, guys. Here's another edge. We got to keep the pipeline going with exciting guys that have the potential of 15-plus sacks in a season. And Will McDonald brings that potential. Whether he'll meet it or not, we don't know. But it's good to just keep the pipeline filled with guys with that kind of ceiling. Then you got your LaMarcus Joyner replacement. We needed that, right? Now you have extra insurance in the running back position. You got a development guy, a guy you could develop at guard. If we got him at 207, it would be striking gold. And one of the things that I'd be really excited about is that we could have a draft like this and still walk away with a number 1 pick next year.
It's crazy, right?
An additional number 1 pick, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Because think about how valuable that would be next year. When we go into that, people think next year it's far away, but in a year from now, how exciting would it be to be going into the draft with 2 number 1s?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's freaking exciting. So, there you have it, man. So let me get this going.
That was an awesome. That was a primo mock draft for the Jets right there. Yeah, Boogie loves Ronnie Hickman, baby, and he's from Jersey. He loved that. He's right around. He's right near in my neck of the woods, man.
If only it was that simple. I wish the draft was just that. I wish I got JD. I got this for you. Me and Dom C got this for you. If we did that draft, I mean, we'd have for JD as a special consultant, we'd have every NFL team saying, "I want the 2 of you together." They wouldn't know that they just need you. I want the 2 of you together to co-GM our team, and you and me would just come in and say, all right, there you go. Or we would just charge any team $20 million. $20 million for whichever team wants to bring you and me in to do their draft for them. Every year.
Sounds good, man. So Angel's got a good question in the chat. I'd like to answer if you can.
Okay. I want to thanks C Boogie for the super chat. I appreciate it. Those little super chats add up, man. They help the channel. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Angel, right here. Here we go.
Yeah. Angel, what's the best way to learn about the hundreds of prospects during the draft and during the college season?
Mm-hmm.
The best way I can, the advice, if I can give any, is I watch a lot of college football. College football is on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sundays. I watch a lot of college football, and I subscribe. I became enlightened a couple years back with actually watching, game film. We talk about it as all 22 film. So I've subscribed to a bunch of, paid sites where I get access to that stuff. So if I watch a guy in a game and I say, oh, Jeremy Cravat, man, he was pretty good, I'll write him down, and then I'll go and I'll pull the tape and I'll actually, I'll actually study him. If I like it, I'll study him more, and that's how the names get to the top of my, to the top of my brain. That's just my methodology, a lot of studying, a lot of time, man. It takes a lot of time. I've probably watched well over 200, 250, maybe even more game filled of prospects, individual prospects. So my wife doesn't like me too much, but that's okay. I'm kidding. That's a joke. So, question, Grandizer, next Sunday, what position? Next Sunday, my position will be in the Bahamas, so I will not be here. So Jeremy's going to have to find a fill-in.
Well, either that or we're just gonna not do a show Sunday, or I'll just do a mock draft on Sunday, or and just do a hangout.
Yeah.
But our next in 2 weeks, though, would you like to do running back?
Whatever you want to do.
I think, given that you've identified, in your opinion, that we might need to have some insurance at running back, maybe we should do the running backs.
Sounds good, man.
mean, who do you think goes? I mean, let's say we take a running back for real, and they work out, and it's really a solid, exciting player. Is Michael Carter going against Bam Bam playing for their job?
No,
Was Ty Johnson out and those guys are in?
Yeah, I don't think there's any financial commitment to Ty Johnson. There's definitely no financial commitment to Bam Knight. So I think those two. I think Michael Carter's pretty safe, but you got to remember, Michael Carter's now entering year 3. So, running backs don't often earn that second contract. That's just the reality. I'm not saying, he doesn't deserve it or they don't deserve it, but the reality is that it's 4 years, wash, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah.
You got to be very special to get that second contract. And most of the second contracts that happen with these running backs, they don't always pan out, Sure. Christian McCaffrey's, you could argue, panned out, because he's still elite in his second contract. Derrick Henry, his panned out. But then you look at guys like, Saquon Barkley is a phenomenal running back talent. They tagged him, Is he going to earn, is he going to earn a second contract? He's going to be 27 by the time that happens, 26, 27. Who knows?
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, he got a big money second-year contract, and all of a sudden this year they want to get rid of him. They because teams just don't pay running backs $9, $10, $11, $12 million.
Yeah, and I honestly, in my opinion, I don't think Ezekiel Elliott's second contract for Dallas was a good one.
No,
I don't think it worked out.
Well, it didn't work. It didn't work out.
Right, they would have been better off going with Pollard and letting Zeke go somewhere else.
Yeah.
E-Boogie comes in with another super chat. Thank you, I appreciate that. Tom C, who in your opinion, if all the top 10 centers are gone, who else in your opinion is worthy to be a Jet?
At the center position? Oh, boy.
Yeah. Top 10 are gone? How would that happen?
Yeah, I don't know.
How would we let the top 10 get away?
If we don't draft a center in this class, I think you're just, you're shopping in the bargain basement and you're finding somebody on, that can stop gap and hold you over, or, you then have the discussion with Connor McGovern and see what it takes to bring him back.
Well, do you think we're signing Jones? He was in the building.
He was in the building. He was in Florham Park. Maybe it's one of those things that, it's kind of like a wink, handshake agreement, like that it's done, but they got to wait for all the other stuff to happen. Again, this is just assumption. All right. They got to wait for the Rodgers trade to happen because Corey Davis's $10 million is going to Green Bay with that. And part of that money is going to pay what Jones asks for the next, because from what I heard, that the talks centered around a multi-year deal for Ben Jones. Now, doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could be, a 3-year deal, that has void years at the end of it, just for the sense of making the cap hit softer. But if that was the case, I think they would have signed him already.
Yeah.
So no, and Ben Jones, listen, he's 33 years old with a history of concussions. He couldn't pass a physical at Tennessee. That's why he got cut. So let's not talk like we're not getting Nick Mangold here.
Right. We don't even know if he passed the physical then, right?
Yeah. No, I don't. He hasn't taken a physical with us yet. He doesn't do that until it's, the contract is signed, sealed and delivered. So
when did he take that physical with?
At the end of last year, right as this offseason started. That's when they cut him. When they cut him and Taylor Mouton. Was that Taylor Lewan? Excuse me, not Mouton. Lewan.
So he couldn't pass a physical at that time?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Listen, the kid that they signed from Washington, I forget what his name is. It's a weird name. Westschmer. Westschleicher. Yeah. He has tons of games at center in the league. So at absolutely worst, like there's a center on the team. I think ideally, he's your first interior guy off the off the block. He's your backup, but in a pinch, you slide him over and you address the guard depth elsewhere. Again, that's really like scraping the bottom, but we're not void without centers. Both of the linemen that we just signed, the one from Washington and the one from Baltimore, both have center snaps on their belt, so they have that flexibility. So to answer your question, Boogie, I don't know, man.
There's also rumors that no center is getting like the top of the market. The ceiling is not even $6 million. So suddenly McGovern might be in our range anyway.
Yeah, I just think it's weird that there's no noise around Connor McGovern, right? Unless he's another one that they just said, hey, just sit and chill. Let's get everything done with Corey Davis. We have these 3 moves intact. That's going to free up this amount of money, and that's when we're going to pay you.
Yeah.
So.
I think we're going to take a center in the draft. I do.
Yeah. I do too. I think
it's going to.
They're doing a lot. They're doing a lot of work. They did a lot of work on John Michael Schmitz. They did a lot of work on Joe Tippmann. They did a lot of work on Luke Whippler. Just saying that alone, depending on how you have them ranked, I mean, they could be 1, 2, and 3 in a lot of people's boards. So if they're doing work on those guys, that tells you that they're looking at the top.
Yeah. We just have to make sure that one of those 3 make it to 42, 43, and we're okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Unless we want to trade back into the 20s and pick John Michael Schmitz.
Which is a possibility.
Yeah.
Which is a possibility.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame them at all.
Nope.
And, I mean, it's good to know that we have 2 different players with snaps at center. That shows commitment to the depth piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think teams realizing there are a ton of centers this draft and don't want to sign one to big money. If one of them falls to the second, where these teams might take them. Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because I didn't want McGovern because I thought he was going to be. They were valuing him at $10 million. Before the offseason started, everybody was saying 10 million. He's based on where he was ranked and based on perception and value or whatever, even though and we all knew as Jet fans we didn't want to pay him that. But if the ceiling for centers they're saying is $6 million, if that's true, it doesn't sound like anybody has offered McGovern even that.
I think Bozeman got a bigger deal than $6 million to go back to Carolina. I think it was like 2 for 15 or something like that, but not much more.
Right. So where does that put McGovern? Like, what if suddenly McGovern is havable at $5 million? Do you think he's? I mean, I didn't want him at $10 million, but $5 million?
Yeah.
Knows the system, continuity. I mean, do we just bring him back for another year? And then we go into the draft and we know if God forbid the nightmare happens and all 3 are gone, if we like 3 guys and they're all gone by the time we get into the second round, we don't have to worry too much. At least we're covered until next year, or do we? I
don't know. I think that there's some centers that are going to go later that can play, whether it's guys like Ricky Stromberg, whether it's guys like Forsyth from Oregon, Oluwatimi. He's going to be in the 3rd, 4th round. Even though I can't stand that guy, he did me dirty, man.
He did you dirty.
So,
yeah. Look, I mean, those guys also might end up being serviceable centers in the league, right?
Absolutely. You are 100% right, my friend.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't get the guy you're excited about. With certain positions, you just get a guy.
Yeah.
You get a Jag, and you hope that Jag could play their role and be good enough.
Yeah. Or you stick and pick at 13 and make Skoronski your center, which I don't think is going to happen. Don't quote me on that, guys.
I just think the thing that could salvage Lake and Tomlinson is if all four guys are really good around them.
I'm not worried about Lakin.
No?
Look, no, I'm not. I'm not worried about it all. I think there was a lot more going on than we all, we see stuff at the surface level.
Mm.
But he moved here to New Jersey. His family wasn't with him the whole time. They moved in later. I think he dealt with a loss in the family.
He did.
So I think there's probably a lot more going on than we either didn't know about or want to accept as part of the reality. So I'm not necessarily worried. Listen, if he comes back and plays like shit again, then I'll worry. But as of right now, I'm gonna call it what it is. It was a shitty adjustment period, but I'm optimistic that that'll get better.
We really could use that because he's, I know there's ways out of it a little bit, but it's still, it's not nothing. Like the way we restructured his contract, we're kind of stuck with him next year too. I mean, we don't have to pay him that crazy salary if we can't restructure, but we would take like a $10 million hit though if we had to cut him next year.
Yeah.
It would suck. But I mean, is he a candidate to restructure again next year, you think?
No, probably not. Not at 32 or 31, whatever he'll be.
You think we're just going to pay him the $20 million next year?
No, I think. Well, if he rebounds, yes, then maybe you restructure and you figure something out. But I think we could be gone from him and just take that and just eat the hit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. Well, good show, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, guys, I hope you liked the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks again, Dom. I mean, you keep doing it. You keep hitting these home runs for us by giving us these breakdowns. It's awesome. I hope people are taking advantage of it, taking notes, because everybody who's watching these shows and watching you on Green Bean and reading your articles on, Green Bean's website is going to be able to enjoy. I think I'm going to have so much more fun on draft day. Every year it gets better and better because I get more of your knowledge and I get to go into the draft day and I feel like I know what's going on. I feel like I have an understanding of the draft,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, man, I appreciate the vessel. I appreciate the avenue to come on here and talk the talk. I got some really good things in the hopper. Some really, really, really exciting news that I hope to be able to break on here soon. So, good things are in store, man. And, it's all good. It's good to be with like minds, good to be with the guys, the real content creators like you, Jeremy, and the rest of the gang. And more so shoot it up with the chat,
Absolutely.
So
thanks again for another super chat, E-Boogie. Appreciate you, brother. And, can't wait for draft day, baby. And I think we're all going to be participating with, Jets Talk 24/7 with the panel.
Yeah,
we're going to be doing little things. I don't know my exact role, but I was invited and know that I'm going to have something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I spent the entire day 3 on with O'Leary, Ryan, and Green Bean. And I had a great time.
Yeah, I had a small segment in day 2 right before the Ruckert pick, and I said my two choices there were. Tyndall, the linebacker that ended up going to Miami, Channing Tyndall, or Jeremy Ruckert. Those were my two suggested. Those are my two guesstimated picks, and they went with one of them. So
that's cool, man. You saw me go nuts when they picked Ruckert. I was so happy.
Absolutely.
I was so happy. I loved him because of you. You sold me on him big time.
Yeah, and I will see you guys. Well, I'll be around this week. Please check out the Project Prospect podcast on Green Bean's YouTube channel, YouTube/Green Bean Jets fan. And then I will be on a cruise ship, sailing down, spending some time in the Bahamas with the family. Kind of a good getaway. Spending my kids' spring break down there, man. So
love it. Thank you so much, Tom, and everybody. I just want to say, and Grandizer put the link in there before. You guys all know the stuff I do at here at Jets Chaos. I am really pushing hard to build up with my brothers this new channel. Really excited about this channel that we're doing, Cravat Attack. We are putting out videos every day with different food reviews, reviewing all kinds of food, restaurants all over the country. My brother is not going to be able to release them for a while, but he's going to Greece. Lee is going to be in Greece for a while, and he's going to record a lot of reviews of Greek restaurants and cafes in Greece. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance, go over to Cravat Attack. Again, the link, you could either just search Cravat Attack. I put it in there, or you can find Grandizer. I posted it up there. Hit the link, subscribe. It's always fun to watch food reviews, guys. My brothers are great. You guys know me. It's like they're 2-3 minute videos where you get to see us talk about food and rank the food and give it rankings. It's really fun. The people that have went there have given it great feedback and said they really had fun. They have fun, and they look forward to the every day for the new video to come out. So check it out. Thanks for thanks for the endorsement.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't had enough mock drafting, 10 o'clock mock tomorrow night.
There you go.
Come play with me and Green Bean.
Green Bean Jets fan. Tomorrow night, mock draft. Tuesday will be the Jets panel. Wednesday will be my show, the Wacky Wednesday show. Thursday will be the thick of it. Shows all the time.
Friday's Tigo. Tigo hang out on Friday nights.
Friday's been. Sorry about that. That was an accident. Tigo's been doing the Friday night, so make sure you check Tigo out on Friday night from now on.
All right, guys.
All right. Take care, everybody. And I'll leave you with this one. Greatest co-host in the world. Watsuke99. Get ready to rumble.
The tag team champions of the world.
My brotherly Cravat
has the best intro I have ever received.
The world. The Buffalo Jets fan.
Yo.
George Fant is a barely above replacement level, pretty good left tackle.
How can you say
Compare
that when
that
he
to
was
an-
top 3 in sack percentage last year for left tackles?
And I think when in doubt, until you have better reason, go with the optimistic view. And our defensive line is going to be giving a lot of people some trouble.
But yeah, it's got to be. I'm with you. I don't like the Nathan's fries when they're like floppy. It's got to be like done really well. It's very hard to teach 6'3" and 4.3 speed. That's very rare. The talent's there. He's just got to put it together mentally.
Right.
To get onto you, I'm a cheater.